Have you ever wondered if your job matches your personality? Today, let's talk about the 4 personality types according to David Keirsey. You can find yourself in one of these personality types and get a better idea if your job is right for you or not. But before we go into the 4 personality types, welcome to multiple careers. Multiple careers means that if you have many interests that you want to pursue professionally and not just as a hobby, you can pursue several careers in a lifetime, either in parallel or one after the other. If you do it right, you'll have a career that is more fulfilling because you respond and take action on what's interesting and meaningful to you instead of ignoring your interests and work in a job you dislike. And on this channel, I make videos about how you can pursue multiple careers too. If that's something that interests you, make sure to subscribe and set the notification bell to all notifications for more video updates. Thank you. You might be wondering whether the career you're in now is right for you or not, or confirm a mismatch with your job. You might have thought of changing careers, jobs, even industries, but are not really sure what suits you. Understanding personality is a good point to start, as it's a stable part of you. First, some context. You might have seen many different types of personality tests, or even taken one, but which one is the right test? The truth is, you can't find out what career suits you just based on a test. There are just too many limitations with personality tests. First of all, they don't include the whole range of careers that exist, so you still need to do that work for yourself. But what they can do is to help you better understand yourself so that you can figure out what works for you. So if you really want to find a career that matches your personality, I would do several tests, and you can do many for free online and find overlaps between them. So back to the 4 personality types by David Keirsey. Personality theory and concepts date back to thousands of years ago. You might have heard of Hippocrates' 4 humors or Plato's 4 characters. You might also have heard about the Myers-Briggs 16 personality types, the one with the 4-letter abbreviation like INTP, ESFJ, and so on, and even done the test. So what David Keirsey did was to group these personality types into 4 main groups: the Artisans, Guardians, Idealists, and Rationals, and analyze them based on their interest, which is related to jobs and careers, their orientation of time and place, their self-image, values, and also social roles. But today we're going to focus just on their interest, which is directly related to jobs and careers. Each of these 4 types have vastly different interests, but to understand more about yourself, it's really useful to contrast yourself against the other types to understand what you're not interested in. And in case you find this personality typification useful, I'd recommend you to pick up Keirsey's book, Please Understand Me Too: Temperament, Character, and Intelligence. Link down below in the descriptions. Let's start with the Artisans. David Keirsey groups the interests of each type into education, preoccupation, and vocation. If your favorite subject in school was arts and crafts, and you love practicing the techniques required, then you are likely an artisan. Keep in mind here that the word artisan is just a nickname for this type, and even though this may be your type, your work is not restricted to being an artist, as the name would imply. As Keirsey hinted in his book, negotiating a business deal, playing a tennis match well, cooking a fine meal is as much as an art as composing a symphony or carving a sculpture. What makes an artisan is their preoccupation with techniques rather than morality, or technology, something we'll get into later with the other types. And note that technique and technology are 2 different things. Artisans may be interested in technology, for example, the technology used in surfing and surfing boards, but their main interest is in the technique of riding the waves. They will spend endless time perfecting their technique. You're an artisan if you prefer to work with equipment rather than with material, personnel, or systems. Artisans are drawn to equipment, which can be anything from a plane, a scalpel, paintbrush, or a drum. If you're an artisan, you are naturally drawn to these instruments and you want to use them. Either fly the plane, wield the scalpel, paint with a paintbrush, or play the drum. Operating a piece of equipment makes the artisans excited and raises their adrenaline the most, and they do it despite the risky consequences or even possible accidents. Equipment here is understood quite broadly, by the way. An opera singer uses his voice as his equipment, and a dancer uses her body to perform. David Keirsey says that the artisans are just like foxes, the cleverest and most nimble creatures. But clever here doesn't mean intelligence, as the types are not differentiated by IQ. Clever here means tactically clever at getting ahead and getting what you want. An interesting point about the motivation of artisans here. While highly successful artisans can accumulate a lot of wealth, their main draw to their work is the sensual pleasure they experience rather than purely the money or to make a statement. And although those things may be also important to them, their first and foremost motivation is to seek sensation. At this point, you might realize that your type is definitely artisan or definitely not artisan. But you might also be a bit unsure. There are so many different aspects to personality types, and this video is just skimming the surface. And the best way to understand which you are is to analyze the type you think you are in contrast to the others. Depending on whether you're interested in the topic of personality or not, I will continue to make more videos on this. So if you want more of this, please do let me know by hitting the like button, and even better, let me know in the comments that you want to hear more on this topic. Let's move on to the guardians. If your favorite subjects in school were related to commerce and you're drawn to the practical aspects of business skills, then chances are that you are a guardian. And as I said before, the word guardian is just a nickname, so don't read too much into the word guardian itself and the things that you might associate with this. Guardians are interested in commerce insofar as doing business allows them to earn a living for themselves and their families. They are less interested in other aspects of business, such as the art of business itself or economics from a systems point of view. Many guardians work as accountants, tax accountants, administrators, bankers, insurance underwriters. But note that if you work in any of these areas, it doesn't mean that you're a guardian. Whether or not you're a guardian goes much deeper than that. If your type is guardian, then your preoccupation is with morality. Guardians are interested in right or wrong. They feel a responsibility for their own morality, but also of the morality of people close to them. And that is why guardians often become administrators or accountants, because the ideal administrator will make decisions based on what is right or wrong, rather than, for example, based on what is beautiful and pleasurable. You are likely a guardian if your vocational interest is in material. Yes, material and not material. While material includes matter, tools, and elements, material are in general equipment and supplies used by an organization. Guardians like doing work based on standard operational procedures and are interested in gathering, storing, recording, measuring, and distributing equipment and supplies. Hint, if you are appalled at this, even just by hearing this, then you are definitely not a guardian. But if you feel a natural urge to arrange, organize, file, and schedule things, then you are likely a guardian. But what if you like organizing as well as making art? Being a guardian doesn't necessarily mean that you are not artistic at all. It just means that you derive your biggest satisfaction from the logistical aspects of work. While artisans' priority is to seek sensation, guardians' priority is to seek security. They tend to be more loyal, careful, orderly, and practical and indestructible. They prioritize responsibility and morality over getting what they want and enjoying sensual pleasures. At this point, you see that two people can be working in the same corporation or even in the same accounting department, but based on their predominant interest and approach and priority, they could either be an artisan or a guardian. Before we go on to the idealist, let me know what you find interesting about the topic of personality and what you would like to know more about. Idealists are of a very different breed altogether. And if you're not an idealist, it may be very hard or even frustrating for you to understand why they are the way they are. If in school you were mostly drawn to the humanities, then you're likely an idealist. Idealists have little interest in techniques. Even if they develop a bit of interest in commerce or science, it will be more of a passing interest. And here again, keep in mind that idealist is just a nickname for this type. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are unreasonable and out of touch with reality, although it can be the case. Keirsey mentions that idealists prefer jobs which involve transmitting ideas through words, and that they want to be in communication with people, although this can be either directly or indirectly. This means that they either like to write, speak, teach, or all of these. Idealists are also interested in fields that involve the mental healing, personal growth, or development of people. In general, their highest pursuit is personal growth and self-actualization, compared to the artisan's pursuit of sensuous pleasures or the guardian's pursuit of security. Again, you might pursue all of these things, but which type you are in the end will depend on what you prioritize more relative to the other things. You're an idealist if you're preoccupied with morale. And note the very important difference between morality and morale. Morality has to do with right or wrong, whereas morale has to do with the state of one's spirit, how someone feels about themselves, and also their relationship with other people. Idealists' main interest is in lifting people's spirit and boosting their morale. While guardians prioritize righteousness, idealists prioritize happiness or fulfillment. And because of that, they will make vastly different career decisions. If you spend a lot of time, intense time, thinking about the meaning of life compared to tinkering hands-on with equipment, then you are likely an idealist. You are an idealist if you find most fulfillment in working with personnel or people. Idealists are interested in human potential and are drawn to training, advancing, developing, and recruiting other people. Idealists are often found in careers that involve teaching, counseling, interviewing, or tutoring. They just have a natural ability of intuiting other people's suffering and what they are troubled about. Forming personal relationships is very important to idealists, not just for the sake of networking, but so that they can become more involved with other human beings. They have a natural ability to put themselves in other people's shoes and want to genuinely help others. In contrast to the artisans who are sensation-seeking and guardians who are security-seeking, idealists are identity-seeking. Questions like who you are, who you could be, and how you can grow as a person are of top priority. If sciences and mathematics were your favorite subject in school, then you are likely irrational. By the way, I have to pause and say that I'm not a big fan of these type names as they can easily confuse people. You can well be a guardian or an artisan and be rational at the same time. So keep in mind when thinking about these types that these names are just a shortcut to remember the types, and don't over-interpret the name itself. Rationals are most interested in logical investigation, critical experimentation, mathematical descriptions. While they are interested in technology, they are not as drawn to the mastering of techniques. You could say that a rational is more interested in the workings of a skateboard compared to mastering the art of skateboarding. They are even less interested in how skateboarding could possibly make you a more confident person. Rationals have a strong desire to understand natural law and the world's patterns. If you are a rational, you're mostly preoccupied with technology. Rationals are immersed in understanding the logic of building. They are much more interested in the abstract logic than the concrete skill. Although they may spend some time flying a plane and even become very good at it, they will derive the biggest satisfaction from spending time understanding and improving the technology behind it. You're irrational if you're interested in careers that require you to work with systems as opposed to equipment, material, or personnel. The systems can be either organismic, where the organism is a plant, animal, or human being, which is the domain of biologists, psychologists, and anthropologists, or machines, which is the area of engineers. David Keirsey compares rationals to owls. They are efficient, can see in the dark, and spot and seize their prey. Similarly, the rational, in a more abstract sense, can use their keen insight and sharp intellect to see through the dark. Rationals are also described as curious, experimental, open-minded. intellectual, inventive, scientific, theoretical, and systematic. They're interested in learning and learn for learning's sake. That being said, this personality categorization is only one of many. And to truly understand yourself better, it's a good idea to delve deeper into this as well as other personality typologies. By now, you might have a good idea which of these 4 personality types you are, but if you want to have more certainty, this is how you can find out. Step 1. Do the MBTI test around which David Keirsey's 4 personality test is built around, and find your 4-letter MBTI type. And for that, you can go to this website here. Step 2. Match your type to one of the 4 personalities, and for that, you can also go to this website. And if you're also curious to know whether you are more suited to work in a company, collaborating with lots and lots of people, or if freelancing, self-employment might be the better option for you, then check out this video over here. I hope this video was useful to you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.